What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we've got a 2025 mock draft. If you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you don't like the video, please leave a comment below on how to improve. Alright, so let's just get straight into it. The Jags have the #1 pick. They are awful at pretty much everything. They don't really have offensive weapons. I think their run game's okay, but they don't really have a line to block for them, right? Obviously, they're not taking quarterback here. They just gave Trevor Lawrence an absolutely massive deal, right? So you can't move on from him for like 4 years. I'd say the biggest weakness here is probably offensive line, but I don't know if it's worth at this point going offensive line. And I'm not doing trades in this mock draft. I'll do it in the next one. But this is a trade back spot, right? You're gonna, in this spot, logically for Jacksonville, you're holding a bidding war for the #1 pick for a team that needs a quarterback, whether that's Tennessee, Cleveland, Las Vegas, New York, or either New York team really, Carolina, New Orleans. It's anything like that. So that's what would happen in real life. Here, I'm just gonna go with I think what's their biggest need, or I guess I just said their biggest needs offensive line, but I'm going to go with corner here. I'm going to go Will Johnson at #1 overall. I think if this happened, it would be the first corner ever in the history of the draft to go at #1. But, there's not many players worth going #1 in this draft, to be totally honest. I think in terms of like depth in the draft, it's better than last year, but in terms of high-end talent, I don't think there's very many players worth taking at #1. At #2 here with Tennessee, they need desperate help at wide receiver. They need options. They need somebody for Will Levis to throw the football to. So who better than a 6'5" ex-receiver in T-Mac, Tetairoa McMillan? I think that'd be a great option for them. Start building it. Actually, a pretty good receiving core there with Calvin Ridley and T-Mac. Finally get some weapons, and then in the second round, maybe you look to bolster that offensive line again, which is starting to look better with J.C. Latham and Pierce Gronsky on the left side of the offensive line, but on the right side, still a little bit suspect. So, with #3, we've got Cleveland. Cleveland are another team. They could look for quarterback as well, but I feel like they seem pretty committed to Deshaun Watson for whatever reason. So I'm not going to go quarterback here. I'm going to take a pick that most people probably won't like. And I'm going to go with Ashton Jeanty. And my thought process behind that is he's been fantastic this season. I mean, just look at like his betting odds. If you're looking at betting odds for a running back, usually you see like 65, 55. Yeah, I mean this dude's betting odds are like 180. Like he absolutely kills every team he plays. And I know he's not playing the greatest competition in the world, but he's still unbelievable. He's a great prospect. He doesn't go down. He just doesn't, right? I mean, he can take what would be a 2-yard run into a 90-yard run. I mean, he just can. I mean, he's a very, very good player. And my thought process for the Browns is if Chubb leaves, this is your RB1. And if Chubb stays, this is still probably your RB1. But then you have an unbelievable running back duo with, I guess Ashton Jeanty has a bit of power himself, but you're thinking some speed and some power. Las Vegas, I think, are more pressured to take a quarterback, and they have their pick because they're all still available. And for me, my #1 is Cam Ward, so we're gonna go with him. He sometimes there's some viral clips, right, where the dude just doesn't feel pressure, which can be a good thing and a bad thing, right? Probably mostly a bad thing, but it also means he's very calm under pressure. Now, it can lead to some turnovers, right? Has a lot of turnover-worthy plays, but he's been better as of late, except, to be fair, for like the most recent game, which they lost. But he's been pretty good this year, right? He's turned Miami completely around. He and Xavier Restrepo, who I also really like, mostly a second-round receiver, though. New York, I think, are in a perfect spot at #5 to take Shedeur Sanders. I think you really cannot complain with Shedeur at #5. Similarly to the Raiders, with you don't even move up and you get a quarterback. Now, in real life, you're going to have to move up to get a quarterback, I think. The Jags are going to hold a bidding war for number 1, and I think the Giants could move up and try to make something happen. But of course, we're getting into like hypothetical situations, so don't really know. But either way, Patriots are here at number 6, and I think you just need desperately to help Drake May, right? So this cannot be a defensive pick. I know that some people might like Abdul Carter here, or Mason Graham to help the defensive line. Would they be good players for you? Yes, most likely. But right now, you just need to help Drake May, whether that's offensive line or wide receiver. For me, I don't think it can be offensive line. I just don't personally love the value here at number 6, just to be totally honest with you. Like, Will Campbell is just a guard. He's not going to be a tackle. Kelvin Banks I like, but is, not the greatest prospect in the world. Josh Simmons is going to fall down the board because of a season-long injury, but he's my favorite tackle in the draft. Urzery's great, but I wouldn't take him at 6, and that's kind of the factor for all of them. Like, I like them, but I'm not taking them at number 6 overall, you know what I mean? So it's just, that's kind of my thought process there. So we're going to go with Travis Hunter. He's going to line up on the outside. I've seen some people say, he could maybe conflict Pop Douglas underneath. It's possible, but I don't know. I think Travis Hunter will be fine on the outside, and you can still get him involved underneath as well. And then you're starting to build, a kind of fun offense there with Drake May and Travis Hunter, right? I mean, you can't complain about that. Jets here at 7. I'm just going to go Mason Graham, bolster the interior. The Jets have been so awful this year. Wouldn't even be shocked if they were to go quarterback, but I think Rodgers is going to stay for another year. If he doesn't, this is 100% quarterback or trade back to get more value. I wouldn't love a quarterback in this spot, to be totally honest. I like Drew Aller. I don't even know if it's Drew Aller or Drew Olar. I'm pretty sure it's just Aller, but I've heard it pronounced differently. I'm actually a really big fan of Jackson Dart and Curtis Rourke, who are guys you can take later on who I think are really pretty high floor quarterbacks. I don't like Carson Beck. I think Ewers is fine. The Nuss Bus, Garrett Nussmeier, I think is very good, but I don't think he's even going to come out in this draft, and also he's not been good as of late. Milroe, I don't love, to be honest, but he's an absolute weapon on the ground, right? So if you want to go for a power run quarterback, I mean, you can look Milroe's way. Panthers here at 8 could also be quarterback, but I'm not going to lean that way. I think you need to get your guy some weapons on offense, or you're going to have to draft edge rusher. So that's it for me. There's no in between. So number 8, I feel like is a great spot for Abdul Carter to go, to be honest. But also, I would not hate going a player like Isaiah Bond, right? A deep threat, someone who can really get moving. I'm thinking the reason I wasn't looking straight at Emeka Egbuka or Luther Burden here is because, one, I don't even know why Emeka Egbuka is this high. I don't think he's going to go in the first round or at least this high in the first round. Either way, and I don't think he's that good on a big board either. The reason I wouldn't look Luther Burden's way is because Bryce Young can't really see the middle of the field, and that's where Luther Burden would be. So I hate to leave my quarterback who you're trying to develop just to be alone on offense pretty much. But when there's a player like Abdul Carter here and you're not really getting any pressure on the quarterback, I feel like you have to go with him. So we're going to take Abdul Carter at number 8. He's a freak athlete out of Penn State. Has been really, really good this year. Now we've got Dallas at number 9. Probably has to be a defensive interior here. So we are going to go out, and for me, it's going to be between Walter Nolan and Kenneth Grant. it's obviously a tricky pick. I mean, you would have hoped like Ashton Genty would be here or something. Um, I mean, it really just depends on what would suit the Dallas system because I kind of weigh them the same. I'll go Kenneth Grant here. I think he's just slightly better. I think Walter Nolan has a lot of technique, but so does Kenneth Grant. I was gonna get Walter Nolan and say, wow, like look at the amount of technique he brings, but Kenneth Grant does the same, and Kenneth Grant, I believe, is a bit bigger as well. Where is just to check the yeah, definitely. Okay. Didn't know the exact like dimensions, but by the eye test, Kenneth Grant was definitely bigger. Either way, Saints at number 10. I think would have gone with any of these guys, Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Kenneth Grant. But now at number 10, I think you got to just go offensive line, right? Go Will Campbell. Play specifically guard for you, not tackle. So a 10's a little high for a guard, but also if you know, because I think Will Campbell, this is not a knock on him saying he's only a guard. Well, it's a little bit of a knock, but being an elite guard is not something to like laugh at. He's going to be a elite guard, in my opinion, in the NFL, especially with a couple years of development. He's going to be very, very good. At number 11, we are going to go. It's between offensive line and corner. I think corner is not a bad shout at all, to be honest. Let's go lockdown corner and Benjamin Morrison. For me, Benjamin Morrison, he's been injured all this year pretty much, but he's such a shutdown corner, like genuinely shut down. If he was healthy this year, he could easily be a top 5 pick, right? Very, very, very good corner. I like some of the corners in this draft. Siobhan Revel was very good. Jediah Barron was more of a safety and nickel corner, but has since this year has proven he can play on the outside, like on the boundary, which skyrockets his draft value. I like Zy Alexander. Huge fan of Azarai Thomas. And where is he? Davison Igbinosun. Big fan of those two. And they finally got added into the simulator, by the way. I've been like waiting to put out a draft until they get added in. Also, there's like a lawnmower going on outside. If you can hear that, I do apologize, but there is nothing I can do. So, it kind of is what it is. Also, I like Takario Davis just for the size, but Benjamin Morrison is definitely a top 3 corner in the draft. Also, kind of forgot to throw in there obviously Will Johnson and Travis Hunter, if you view him as a corner, I think are the top 2. But Benjamin Morrison is without a doubt a top 3 corner in the draft. Bengals here, they just lost to the Chargers last night. They showed okay comeback efforts, but they lose again, and they do not look good this year, to be honest. They really do not. I mean, they really just don't. I mean, there's not really that much to it. I'd go defensive line here. On the interior, you got to stop the run. I'm going Walter Nolan. You could argue edge as well, but I feel like with Hendricks in there, I feel like you got to bolster the interior, so that's what we're going to do here with Walter Nolan. Bucks at number 13. I think this is a good spot for Nick Scourton to go. Really kind of raw edge rusher out of Texas A&M. I don't think Texas A&M are really great at developing edge rushers, but I mean, this dude looks so good in a system where they can't really develop him. So imagine what you can do with NFL coaching. Bears need desperate help on the offensive line, and I think Ariante Ursary is a great option to make that happen. He's a type of guy that can fill in at guard, play tackle as well. You're gonna play him at tackle at first, but if you need help at guard, he can bump inside, right? So that's what you're gonna do. He's a really, really good player, without a doubt. He's a big guy, 6'6", 330. Wow, massive guy actually. And there's not much else to say. You need desperate help on the offensive line, really. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Bears, I think they have 2 second-round picks. If they take both second-round picks, offensive line as well, or at least one of them. I mean, when you really have something to fix like that, you have to target in the draft. So I think that's what they're going to do. Luther Burden. Why did I say Luther? I had my mouse on Luther Burden. Indianapolis Colts at number 15. We're gonna look corner here, and I'm gonna go with Azariah Thomas. I think getting help in the secondary is massive. Wouldn't hate going tight end here, but honestly, I think Mo Alley Cox has been pretty decent this year, and their receiving core as a whole have been fairly solid. Well, maybe not unbelievable, but they've been solid. And this week, Anthony Richardson maybe had one of the best games he's ever had as a quarterback. Like not even just in the league, but in college too, against the Jets. So who knows if they can ride any momentum, but they definitely need help in the secondary. I could see Malachi Starks going here, but I'm going to lean Azariah Thomas out of Florida State. A little side note with Azariah Thomas is I know he's not really widely respected in terms of people doing these like mock drafts for whatever reason, but I really like him. He's a top 20 player for sure in my on my big board. Okay, Seattle I think need offensive line. Don't even think twice. Go Calvin Banks out of Texas, right? Just start building the trenches up, right? Last year they went with Murphy, I think, in the defensive line out of Texas as well, and this year you're going Calvin Banks to build it up even more. LA, LA is an interesting situation because I think they probably go corner as well, but I wouldn't be surprised to see tackle go, for example. But we're gonna go corner here. Let's go Siobhan Revel at number 17. Again, another guy who got injured this year, season-ending injury. But before he got injured, he was looking great this year. Wouldn't be entirely shocked if he goes back to school just because he can raise his stock so much more. But, I'm kind of counting everybody as eligible in this. Maybe if we get to a more realistic one, like later on, I'll take people out. But I think Siobhan Revel is going to go here in the first round easily still with the injury. Niners, I think it would not hurt to go offensive line. Get someone to develop underneath Trent Williams and maybe bump into guard and then go back out to tackle. And for a developmental guy, I'm going Cam Williams out of Texas. Another guy who could return to school, but I'm going to have him coming out, as I've said. And, this could be another spot where you go corner, but they just paid, name is slipping my mind, Luminor or something like that. Think so. Just paid him, so I wouldn't go corner. I mean, obviously, it doesn't hurt to go and get more depth pieces at corner, but this is a corner class where you can definitely get somebody in the second round, right? Maxwell Hairston's probably a third-round guy. Darian Porter's a second-round guy. Same with Zy Alexander. Takario Davis, second-round guy. Denzel Burke's probably a third, fourth-round guy. Mansour Delane, I'm a big fan of. He's probably a fourth, fifth-round guy. So there's corners you can get later in this draft. So, you don't have to rush it right away. Trey Amos is probably second-round guy as well. I haven't really looked too far into Trey Amos, to be totally honest with you. Either way, next up we've got the Broncos. I think this is a really healthy spot to go with Luther Burden. Just get another weapon for potential Rookie of the Year in Bo Nix. Like, really high floor quarterback, right? And has proven that and has been very good this year. Now, will he have the potential to keep it going up, like upwards trajectory, or will he just be a consistent quarterback? I think Broncos will take either one, right? Next up, we have got the Falcons. We're going to go Jalen Walker off the edge. Keep him in the state of Georgia, in Atlanta. Great edge rusher. He creates a lot of room for maybe a more widely respected Michael Williams, but I like Jalen Walker more. Next up, we have the Texans. Boy, oh boy, do I want to trade back. nearly went up and clicked this trade button. But I didn't, because we don't do that in here. So the real question is, I think you can go running back, but in the second round, I wouldn't do that here. So maybe this is a bad take. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of Tyler Booker and Donovan Jackson. I don't think that itself is the bad take. I wonder if taking them at 21 is a bad take. I don't think so. I'm just going to go with Tyler Booker. He's going to fill in at guard, and he can push out to tackle. It's not like he's allergic to playing tackle. He's got the size for it. He can easily bump out to tackle, but he's going to be, in my opinion, an all-pro guard. Genuinely, I think he's a very, very good player. I like all of the interior offensive linemen from Bama in this draft. Parker Brailsford at center, I think, is great late round value. Similarly, Jaden Roberts, probably a really good, late day 2, early day 3 pick. So can't hate on that at all. For the Cardinals, I really, really like Derek Harmon and Dion Walker. I don't know if it's Dion or Dione, but I'm pretty sure it's just Dion. I heard someone the other day go Dione. I'm like, what? There's no way that's right, but who knows? Maybe I'm the idiot and I've been saying it wrong the entire time. He's got incredible size. I'm a pretty big fan of Omar Norman-Lott. Maybe a little bit later of a pick. Not like late rounds, but like day 2. We're gonna go with. I mean, it's kind of just a toss-up. I'm gonna go with the size and go Dion Walker. Really beefy guy out of Kentucky, man, and he's just gonna fill up the middle of that defensive line. I mean, let's get the exact height and weight here: 6'6", 345. I mean, that's just an absolute beast. There's this one guy at Florida who's like 450 pounds, and it's off topic. He's not in this draft, but it made me think of him. It's kind of funny. I mean, he's absolutely huge. Just to fill up the middle of the field. Commanders, I don't mind here going receiver. In Isaiah Bond, maybe. You're trying to get your quarterback of the future another weapon. I don't mind that at all. So we're going to go Isaiah Bond at number 23. And not really think twice about it. He's he's a speed demon, as you like to call him, right? Baltimore, we are going to go corner here. We are going to go with Davison Igbinosun. If you haven't watched Davison, I highly suggest you do. He had a very good game against Penn State the other week. I think he's been consistently good this year and has pretty good tape as well. I like Igbinosun. Good player. Maybe he doesn't go in the first round, but I think he definitely can. And I think, either way, wherever you get him, he's great value in the draft. I mean, unless you take him number 1 overall, then that's probably not great value. But down here, I think it's very good. Chargers, who have looked great as of late, have really bolstered that offensive line, and those 2 tackles look unbelievable in Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. Defensive line, really, I would have made a defensive line pick last night, and I really watched a lot of that game, well, the whole game, and I mean, do they really need a ton of help there? Maybe not. I still don't hate them going with it, but why not get a massive tight end in Tyler Warren? Get your guy another weapon. He has some plays for Penn State where he's lined up in the Wildcat formation, and they just let him work, right? Really, really good athlete at tight end. Safe hands, right? Big target, can go up and get it. I think he's easily tight end 1. Only way I see Colston Loveland going ahead of him, or any other tight end, do they lower his ranking? Harold Fannin has been really good this year. Maybe the best tight end in the country statistically. But either way, only tight end that would really go ahead of Warren is Colston Loveland, and the only way I see that happening is if it's Kansas City taking him, just because he would fit their system. But most teams like a big tight end, right? So I think the Chargers could easily do with Tyler Warren. Green Bay. I really like this storyline of Jonah Savaiinaea linking back up with Jordan Morgan. That's like one of my, favorite realistic storylines that could happen in this draft. They could also use help in the defensive interior, but I like protecting a guy you're giving like $50 million a year to. So, I feel like that's a pretty good idea for the most part. So we're gonna give Jonah Savaiinaea a chance to do that. Steelers. I think this is where you go offensive line, right? And I'm going to go Josh Conerly. Has some of the best high-end tape in the entire class at left tackle. Can easily bump into guard. Could go to right tackle. Can do pretty much anything for you on the offensive line. Wouldn't personally stick him at center, but you never know. Here we have Minnesota. Minnesota's an interesting one. I think I'm going corner here. Just who would it be though? That's the real question. That's what gets you. Gotta know who you're taking. And we can see who's available on the offensive line as well. Like Wyatt Milam could be a great tackle. One of the best in the country this year. Might have to bump into guard. But either way, imagine Darrisaw and Milam next to each other. We're gonna do that next year by drafting Wyatt Milam to the Vikings. Philly. There have not been a lot of edge rushers taken, which definitely benefits them. We're gonna go with Mykel Williams. We know Philly loves that Georgia pipeline, so we're gonna keep it coming. Malachi Starks is probably the choice here to the Bills. I think he's fallen too far, right? He's fallen far too far. Chiefs here, I think could go tackle, and I think Simmons kind of falls into their lap. I also don't hate going edge rusher here. This draft has been really kind of interesting, as like no edge rushers have gone, which is like every time I do a mock draft, I somehow find myself like taking all the edge rushers, but hasn't happened here. Another option here is Colston Loveland or running back, but I think it might be a touch early for running back. Also, would not shock me whatsoever if they traded out, right? If the team comes in here and wants to jump the Lions for an edge rusher, that could easily happen. Like maybe the Patriots want to jump back in. Maybe the Panthers are a little bit further back because they only have their second round pick. They have the Bears one, I think. It's kind of trickier. I wish I could just like scroll down to the second round, but I can't. But either way, I mean, you could see New York trading back up, but probably not for an edge rusher. But yeah, Kansas City here. We're just gonna go and get Colston Loveland. He's gonna develop behind Travis Kelce, and he's gonna be your tight end of the future. At least you'd hope so, right? But pretty good value, I think, at 31 to get a top, probably 30 player in the draft. And then the Lions here, and the universe, your Super Bowl winners. I'd go edge here. I think James Pierce is somehow he's somehow still available. I mean, look at this edge class. I mean, it is unbelievable. It really is. I'm a big fan of Braden Swinson. Like, huge fan. Quandarius Robinson, I'm actually a pretty big fan of as well. Mike Green is great value in the second round. Donovan Iziruwaku out of Boston College is definitely a great pick in the second round. Princely Umanmielen is definitely a good pick in the second round. Landon Jackson has unbelievable size. He's like 6'8", something like that, 6'7". James Pierce is who I'm taking here. LT Overton is very good. I mean, these guys maybe should all go in the first round. Shamar Stewart is even great for the second round. But we're going to go James Pierce here to close out the mock draft. I think pretty much every team in here would be satisfied. Yeah, I mean, I really like this mock. So let me know what you guys think of it. and I'll see you next time. Peace.